Part 1. An ordinary day turns sour. Special Agent Alana Hayes was finishing up a long day. She'd been working undercover on a challenging case, and today marked the end of the operation. Dressed casually in jeans, sneakers, and a plain jacket, she looked like an average woman just trying to get home. But despite her ordinary appearance, Alana was far from ordinary. She had climbed her way up through the ranks at the FBI with sheer determination, facing discrimination and challenges, but never letting them slow her down. As she walked toward her car, parked a few blocks from the office, Alana felt a strange unease in the pit of her stomach. She noticed two police officers standing by a cruiser nearby, staring at her as she approached her car. She didn't recognize them and figured they must be on a routine patrol. But as she unlocked her car door, the officers began moving towards her with an unusual intensity in their gaze. "Excuse me, ma'am," one of the officers called out, stopping her just as she was about to get in. His name tag read Officer Gibson, and his partner, Officer Mills, was a few paces behind him, his arms crossed, watching her with a hostile expression. Alana turned around slowly, maintaining a neutral face. "Yes, officer. Is there an issue?" Gibson's eyes narrowed as he looked her up and down, as if assessing her worth. "You live around here?" he asked, his tone laced with suspicion. Alana raised an eyebrow. "Yes, I do," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "Is there a problem?" "This is a high-end neighborhood," Gibson continued, ignoring her question. "You don't exactly fit the profile of the typical resident." Alana felt her frustration rising. She had seen this type of profiling before, too many times, in fact. She reached into her pocket, pulling out her FBI badge and holding it up for the officers to see. "I'm Special Agent Alana Hayes with the FBI," she said, her tone firm. "I think you're mistaken if you believe I don't belong here." But Gibson barely glanced at her badge. Instead, he looked at Mills and let out a mocking laugh. "FBI, huh? You think I haven't seen fake badges before? Anyone can buy those online." Alana clenched her jaw, trying to remain calm. "This is a legitimate badge, Officer Gibson, and I assure you, I have every right to be here." Mills took a step forward, crossing his arms tighter. "Listen, we don't care who you think you are," he sneered. "This is our jurisdiction, and we've had reports of car break-ins in this area. So how about you come with us and we can sort this out at the station?" Alana's patience was wearing thin. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, and she didn't appreciate being treated like a suspect. "Officer, I'm giving you a final warning," she said, her voice ice cold. "You are harassing a federal agent without cause, and this will not end well for you." Gibson smirked, ignoring her words. He took a step closer, his expression darkening. "I don't take orders from anyone, especially not from some woman pretending to be FBI." Part 2. Crossing the line. Before Alana could respond, Gibson suddenly reached out and shoved her hard against her car. She stumbled, her body slamming into the vehicle with a painful thud. Fury boiled up inside her, but she maintained her composure. She knew that escalating the situation would only make things worse. Gibson's partner, Mills, snickered from behind, clearly enjoying the show. Alana could see it in his eyes. This wasn't about a suspicion of her breaking any laws. This was about power, prejudice, and their misguided need to put her in her place. "I told you to cooperate, didn't I?" Gibson sneered, pushing her against the car again. "Or are you too stubborn to follow simple instructions?" Alana gritted her teeth. She had dealt with bullies like this before, but she also knew that she couldn't just let this slide. "Officer, you are making a grave mistake," she said through clenched teeth. Gibson chuckled, clearly unmoved by her words. "Oh, am I? What are you going to do about it, Agent Hayes?" At that moment, Alana knew she had no choice but to defend herself. She had tried to handle the situation diplomatically, but these officers weren't interested in reason. She shifted her weight subtly, preparing herself. Without warning, Gibson lunged toward her, trying to grab her arm. Alana reacted instinctively. With a quick, practiced movement, she sidestepped his grasp and twisted his arm behind his back, using his own momentum against him. Gibson let out a startled yelp as she pinned him, applying just enough pressure to make her point clear. Mills, who had been laughing moments earlier, looked stunned. "What the hell?" he stammered, fumbling for his baton. "Don't even think about it," Alana warned, her tone deadly serious. "I'm fully trained in hand-to-hand combat, and I will not hesitate to defend myself if you continue this. But Mills, clearly not thinking rationally, swung the baton at her. Alana ducked and disarmed him in one swift move, tossing the baton aside. Mills backed away, clearly shocked at how quickly the tables had turned. "Are we done here?" Alana asked, her voice calm but unyielding. Part 3. The crowd gathers. By now a small crowd had gathered, attracted by the commotion. Among them were several off-duty officers and even a few of Alana's colleagues from the FBI who had been in the area. One of them, Agent Sanchez, recognized her immediately and pushed his way through the crowd. "Agent Hayes," he called out, his face a mix of concern and confusion. "What's going on here?" Gibson and Mills froze, realizing they were suddenly very outnumbered. Alana released Gibson, stepping back as Sanchez approached. "These officers decided to detain me under false pretenses," Alana explained, her voice steady. "They refused to acknowledge my badge and used excessive force." Sanchez turned to the two officers, his expression hard. "You do realize that Special Agent Hayes is one of the FBI's top agents, don't you?" he demanded. Gibson's face paled as he finally grasped the gravity of the situation. Mills looked equally horrified, his mouth opening and closing as he tried to formulate an excuse. I didn't realize," Gibson stammered, his bravado completely gone. Sanchez shook his head, clearly unimpressed. "You didn't realize? You had a badge in front of you and still chose to act like this?" Part 4. The Fallout. The fallout from the incident was swift. The story made headlines the next morning, and the footage from witnesses circulated online, sparking outrage. The police department launched an internal investigation, and both Gibson and Mills were suspended pending further disciplinary action. Alana was initially reluctant to make a public statement, but after consulting with her colleagues and community leaders, she decided to use this moment to speak out. She knew her experience was not unique and that countless others had faced similar or worse treatment without the resources or support she had. During a press conference, Alana stood before a crowd of reporters, community leaders, and supporters. "What happened to me was an abuse of power rooted in prejudice," she said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "No one should have to prove their worth or identity simply because of the color of their skin. As a society, we must hold those in power accountable." Her words resonated deeply with the public, and her story sparked a renewed conversation about racial profiling and systemic bias in law enforcement. Protests and marches took place across the country, demanding reforms and accountability. Part 5. A Voice for Change. In the weeks that followed, Alana found herself becoming a prominent advocate for change within the FBI and beyond. She spoke at conferences, met with lawmakers, and worked alongside civil rights organizations to push for policy reforms. She called for mandatory anti-bias training for all law enforcement officers, greater accountability measures, and increased diversity within the ranks. But Alana didn't stop there. She knew that real change required more than just words. She began working on a mentorship program aimed at empowering young people of color to pursue careers in law enforcement and public service. She wanted to create a generation of officers who would prioritize justice, integrity, and respect for all individuals. And while the road ahead was challenging, Alana was undeterred. She had faced down prejudice, fought back against injustice, and emerged stronger than ever. Her journey was a testament to the resilience of those who refused to be silenced and the power of individuals to spark meaningful change. In the end, Alana's story became a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up for one's rights and fighting for a more just and equitable world. She had turned a painful experience into a catalyst for progress, and her legacy would continue to inspire others for years to come.